It is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, and intern Sawyer along for the ride as well as we finish up the month of April. Can you believe, sir?
I can believe. I feel like we've been playing baseball, and we have been since the middle of March. So, finally, the first month of the season is over. Some people are glad to see this month being over, and some people are wishing, hey, I wish this month could go on forever.
Hey, we got a lot to get to over the next half hour plus today. We're going to be announcing our 2 Applebee's winners. So congratulations to you, and thanks to everybody who sent in who should be on the guest list to fill out our foursome at a dinner table. That would be nice. But let's get it going with a tip of the cap. And I don't think it's too much to say possible catch of the century.
Seems to normally have. Here's a drive to deep center. Varsho back. And did he catch that ball? Yes, he caught that ball.
Okay, so that was Varsho's first game of the year, by the way, I believe. How do you explain what we saw?
It elite hand eye. I don't know, man. This guy obviously is an incredible outfielder. We've seen him make crazy catches, throughout his career. But this, the ability to keep your eyes on the ball. You're in a dome, you're falling on the ground, and then you're backhanding a fly ball. Everything here is crazy. He got himself to the right spot. So I think that's the number one thing. He got himself to the spot. And then fell. So he knew he was in the area where the ball was going to be. He looked up, and to be able to catch a ball backhanded like that's traveled, 395 feet, is insane. It's the kind of player he is. It's why Blue Jay fans love him. And if you have watched him play defense at all, you know what kind of player he is.
By the way, okay, I get it. It was a little over exaggeration to say catch of the century, but you catch my drift, literally. Alex Bregman said it was incredible. That was one of the best catchers I've ever seen in my life. That came from the other dugout.
It's Kevin Kiermaier-esque.
Yeah, there's just been some crazy stuff that's happened in Toronto. I remember Pollard climbed up the left field wall one time, make an amazing catch there. So that building's seen a few pretty good ones.
Hey, do you remember Ben Revere and some of the catches he used to make?
Yes, Benny Revere. Good one, a former Twin in Philly.
Yeah.
Okay, that was good. All right. Seems like there's been records, both good and bad, set all over the place. Mostly good if you're a fan of power hitting baseball and a New York Yankee fan. Really bad if you're a buddy of Kyle Gibson's.
High fly ball, right field and deep. Laureano turns, looks, see ya. High fly ball, right field. Laureano back, track, wall, see ya. Driven out to right field, Laureano back, turning, looking, see ya. High drive, right field, there it goes, see ya. A long
Stop this, Chris. Come on.
4 bombs by the Yankees.
And this offense struck early and often after Grisham and Judge go back-to-back there in the first inning. Do you step to the plate and think to yourself, I've got next?
Yeah, it might have crossed my mind, I'm not going to lie, but you can't go up there thinking like that. You just got to simplify everything, just look to make some hard contact, and that was my approach.
First of all, Ben Rice, you've been incredible. Spit your gum out before you do an interview with Meredith, please. Let's clean it up a little bit. Let's get a little of that highfalutin Ivy League status on the baseball diamond. If you don't want, just take care of that and go do your thing. So you heard the 4 home runs in the first 5 hitters, but they went back to back to back to start the game. They're the first team to ever do it twice in a single season. Should we be like, my God, that's amazing? Or are you like, okay, I guess it's kind of cool?
No, I think it's awesome. It's only April. I made this, I don't know if this was on Talking Baseball or here. I was talking about the Padres when they had Juan Soto and Tatis and whoever else it was, Bogarts.
Machado?
I said, how many times is what's that?
Machado?
Maybe it was Machado. I said, how many times are they going to go back to back to back? And I don't think they ever did that season. And then here the Yankees are doing it, man, with some guys that are, definitely were under the radar coming into the season, but I don't think are you can say that anymore about them.
I felt for Kyle Gibson, and being the pro that he is, he stood at his locker and he took it. And he was like, "Hey, listen, that's not exactly the way I wanted to make my season debut." His second stint with the Orioles, and this is a team that desperately needs guys to give them some length, and he obviously couldn't do it. The Yankees also have 51 homers, which is the most ever for that franchise before the end of April. Now, it's only been several years since we started playing games in March, so obviously the season used to start, it felt like maybe April 5th or 6th, and so that's not as much of a wow, but I do think that it proves the point that this lineup might be better than we anticipated going into the season. Is it a legit scary lineup?
I think it can be for sure. I mean, yeah, we had question marks coming in. It was, what about the depth? The guys that are going to be in that lineup, there's some young guys. What was Austin Wells going to be like in year 2? We didn't know much about Ben Rice, and Trent Grisham obviously has surpassed everyone's expectations. So I think if you're kind of like looking up and down the lineup, there are guys that can get the job done on any given night. And even Volpe has kind of entered the discussion. He's had his last 5 games have been great and make his overall numbers look really good for April. He was hitting 198 before those last 5 games, and now he's already up to 234 with a 782 OPS. So I hesitate to, I still don't know why. I hesitate to put it as, one of the best lineups in baseball. I still think that's Dodgers, Cubs, Diamondbacks, and Mets, but they're obviously in the discussion. They're crushing the baseball. And that's because you can talk about Trent Grisham and his 1 dot. And you can talk about Ben Rice getting up to a great start. Aaron Judge is doing things we've basically never seen on a baseball field. And he just gets overlooked because we just expect him to be Aaron Judge, but he's leading the big leagues like in everything, Chris. 412 batting average, 502 OBP, 722 slug. That guy alone, 250 OPS plus, that alone makes their lineup scary. But when you add in the auxiliary pieces that the Yankees have been able to have, I mean, they're doing it. Like, it's tangibly, they're doing it on the baseball field. They're producing runs.
Trent Grisham is, I can't believe what I am seeing out of him. He hit it on the Utah street last night. So he hadn't had an OPS higher than 675 since 2021. I mean, he had just 3 miserable offensive years in San Diego. And now people how they constantly do the side-by-side of players with all the stats on social media. They put him next to Juan Soto, and, he's crushing Juan Soto's numbers. And so Yankees fans are obviously loving that. I mean, if I set the over-under at, let's just say 785 OPS for the season for him, do you think Yankee fans would be thrilled if it ended at 785?
Prior to the season, yes, 100%. Now I think
you can't do
more
that.
out of him, right?
You can't do that.
I'm saying I think now they expect more out of him. I think if he ends up with a 785 OPS, they'll be like,
disappointed.
I think so.
But that's saying something, right?
It's
because
crazy,
at the beginning of the year, first of all, you're saying, well, why is he playing as much as he is? Like, what's going on here? That doesn't make any sense. You mentioned Volpe. For the first 4.5 weeks, he has felt like either an extra base hit or get out sort of dude. Wells has done a solid job, right? Over 700 OPS. He hit a home run last night, and he certainly has his moments. Bellinger has not gotten going. Most people would say Jazz hasn't gotten going. He's gotten some home runs and some extra base hits, and now we'll see with this injury where this takes him. Paul Goldschmidt has been incredible, because when they signed him, we all wondered, okay, are you going to get the guy who looked old the first 3.5 months of last season, or the guy who looked more Goldie-ish the last 2 to 2.5 months of the season? And that's exactly what they've gotten is the latter there. Yeah, they're a scary lineup. They are, and particularly in the American League where there aren't great lineups. So yes, I would say if we're comparing them to National League teams, it's a little bit of a different conversation. But in the American League, yes, it's a very scary lineup.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. Speaking of getting their swing on, have you seen what the Mariners have done as of late, especially somebody's old teammate?
To center field, Polanco cannot be stopped. He is on a whole nother planet right now.
I mean, the look on Luis Castillo's face said it all in the dugout, right? He's like, damn, I am so happy I'm not pitching against him. That's 5 homers in the last 4 games. It's his second multi-homer game in that span as well. This was a dude that is coming off of his worst season, and when he was re-signed by the Mariners in the offseason, fans were like, Jesus, really? What are you seeing from your old teammate?
He's changed some things in his stance. It looks a lot more controlled at the plate. You know, the leg kick is a little more subtle this year. The hands are kind of staying more still, which is keeping the heads more still. He's making more contact and harder contact consistently. You can tell right now just how big the ball looks to him. He's just giving himself that extra recognition phase because he's cut out a ton of excess movement. You know, he's kind of like quieted his stance down a little bit. He's closed it off and just, you know, I tell my youth kids this all the time. Like, we got to get rid of all this movement. Like, let's get to a place. Like, where are you going to launch from? Let's start from there. That's kind of what he's gotten back to, is keeping his hands closer, not a big load. It's there. And then he's going. And the power, sometimes when you do that, you get rid of some of the power. Like, you don't feel like you're using all of your torque, all of your energy into the ball. But he's swinging the bat faster this year, and it's more direct. And a lot of it is mechanically driven. So like the changes that he's made tells me that he can have sustained success. Maybe not to the point where he's had in April, but because he's so direct to the ball, because he's seeing the ball so much longer right now, like if he continues on this path, like he's going to be an all-star this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have possibly a career year offensive. He's always been a pretty dang good hitter, Rosie.
Yep.
So yeah, some of the mechanical changes are apparent, and they're working for him, man. He looks awesome. And that whole Mariners offense is much improved over what we've seen over the last couple of years.
Well, for him in particular, let's start with him. He is coming off a horrific year. He had a sub 300 on base percentage last year. His strikeout rate was astronomical. For him in his career, it was about 18%. Last year, jumped almost 30%. So when you're swinging and missing or taking strike, I mean, that's just horrible. That's just horrible. You talk about the Mariners. It was funny because we did one story on asking if the Mets are the most potent offense in baseball now that they've gotten, McNeil back and Alvarez back. And somebody in our comments section, I want to shout him out here, Just Lions, said the Mariners are top 10 in almost every important offensive metric: OPS, walks, homers, stolen bases, on base, RBIs, slug, runs. And he made the point that Julio isn't really even getting going.
Nope.
He's like the one dude, when you look at that lineup, where you're like, oh my God, where are you? So I suppose, do we owe them an apology and owe Jerry DiPoto a bit of an apology because they really didn't make any huge offensive moves in the offseason?
No, we don't owe them an apology. We owe some snaps for Edgar Martinez. We owe some, the changes that he's making, Polanco has made this year. And again, I'll reference, just when you watch him hit and you can compare videos, there's videos out there right now side by side of where his hands were going last year, like kind of like behind his body, way back, behind like his stride. Now everything is tight and in sync. And again, that's just a simpler swing. So you have the ability to put the ball or the barrel on the ball more. That's definitely an Edgar Martinez thing. When you got guys that have been in the trenches as your hitting coach and are kind of old school, like that's what they're going to do right away, is eliminate some of the movement. And they've been able to do it. JP Crawford's had a nice offensive April as well. Like it's been really fun to watch.
So I think that Kevin Seitzer is the main hitting coach, and I think Martinez might be the guy that backs him up, if that's possible. I think that's.
I got to imagine there's a lot of influence from Edgar there.
Well, it's interesting because there are so few really good major league players that become either good hitting coaches or managers. I mean, just look around the league. It's not.
Yeah, because if you're really good, you've made so much money that you don't care to work, really.
Yeah, I mean, that was a generation ago where really good players would, like Don Mattingly, I think, was an exception. Joe Torre was a 9-time All-Star and a former league MVP as a player, and obviously had a really long, successful managerial career, Hall of Fame managerial career. Yes, sir.
So Kevin Seitzer's the hitting coach, and Edgar Martinez is the director of hitting strategy, which,
The director. Do you think he goes into a meeting with that on top of his resume? So what are your qualifications, sir? I'm the director of hitting strategy in Seattle. Oh, and I'm in Cooperstown.
Oh, and the
too.
Mariners are in first place in the AL West. Let's go.
Hey, I'm just telling you, that is one guy for our younger viewers out there. Go watch some Edgar Martinez. He was a joy to watch. Such a badass with the bat. He had pop, but he would go gap to gap on you. Guy couldn't run a lick. He didn't play defense the back half of his career at all, but he was such a wonderful stick to watch in that batter's box. He was great.
Dylan Moore has been great. Randy Arozarena hasn't been like, what he can be. You mentioned who the Rodriguez. So there is like real reason for optimism in Seattle this year.
Yeah. Let us know. Do you think that Seattle, that this is like their year for the division? This is it, right? Houston, although they've had nice,
We've been waiting.
We have been waiting. Let's go. I would like to know who's the favorite in that division. You got Seattle, you've got Houston, you've got Texas.
Hey, the A's are 15-15, right behind, 2.5 games out.
Okay. And the A's have been super interesting. We know all that. Well, today's episode of Baseball Today, it is sponsored by MLB 9 Innings, a Major League Baseball game you can play in the palm of your hands. MLB 9 Innings. It has a wide variety of game modes, from league mode, where users can play through a season, to live player v. player. 9 Innings has over 2,000 player cards to collect and use in your dream roster as well. Did you know MLB 9 Innings, most up-to-date rosters, team logos, ballparks, uniforms, and 9 Innings has also added new historic players to the game, like Joe DiMaggio and Satchel Paige, Kirby Puckett, Derek Jeter, and one of the newest Hall of Famers in Adrian Beltre. And maybe you've seen this, but MLB 9 Innings has released an incredible trailer this year as well. Mike Trout's in it. Hall of Famers Ken Griffey Jr. and Greg Maddux are in it. So check out the trailer on MLB 9 Innings official YouTube channel. Download and play MLB 9 Innings 25 today. Click the link in the description. Off you go and enjoy. While we're here, special shout out to some of our Substack followers out there. David Volke, I believe is how you pronounce the last name. Teacher from the state of Washington. We always appreciate you being a fan here at Baseball Today. James Hughes, a huge Phillies fan. James, you're going to want to listen to this because it was a crazy finish, that is PH finish, in Philadelphia. That too is PH, because both teams thought they had won the game in the 9th inning until they hadn't.
Oh my. Nathaniel Lowe, high in the air, right field, see you later. And the Nats have taken the lead 6-5.
Ruiz again blocks it. Here comes Stott. The throw not in time. The Phillies win it. Bryson Stott scores the game winner on a wild pitch.
So I ask you this, what is the bigger story from last night? Is that Philly came back and eventually won this thing on a walk-off wild pitch, or that their bullpen seems to be not super trustworthy still?
I think it's probably the bullpen, because that's going to be a story that goes on throughout the season. They brought in Jordan Romano. He hasn't been very good this year. I mean, nobody besides Jose Alvarado has been really up to snuff, and their bullpen ranks 29th in bullpen ERA, only in front of the Nationals, who they beat last night. So it's going to be something that they have to address if they want to get to the promised land. And we talked about this group. It's the core is time is kind of like running out on this core of players. For them to win a World Series, they have to figure the bullpen out eventually. Like, I think they're going to be in the playoffs. There's a lot of good National League teams, so you might want to get on it sooner than later. I don't think it's just like you're going to walk into the playoffs, not in the state of where the National League is now. So, I think in years past, we'd say, oh, they'll figure it out the trade deadline. They'll get in, and all they need is 2 or 3 guys there in the playoffs to get it done. I think they have to address it sooner than that this year. So I think the bullpen's is definitely the bigger story here.
Matt Gelb, who covers the Phillies for The Athletic, had a tremendous tweet after the game finished. He said, Phillies and Nationals entered today with the 29th and 30th ranked bullpen ERAs in baseball. They combined to play the dumbest game of the season so far. It ends on a walk-off wild pitch. That was hilarious. I chuckled at that. I do think, Strom's been pretty good. He's been a very consistent arm for them. But the best bullpen arm they've got is closing games up in Toronto in Hoffman. It will be baseball architecture malpractice if Dave Dombrowski does not go get multiple arms and soon. They cannot sit around and wait. They know that the Mets are really good. They know that the Braves are coming. They know there's at least one team that's going to make the playoffs from the National League Central. You could even make an argument that the Reds will be sticking around. And then who knows how many legit teams there are in the National League West, because if there's 4, that's a real problem. The Phillies cannot wait. You must address this now, because games that you lose at the beginning of May are just as costly as the ones in September. I know it doesn't feel that way always, but man, those are hidden losses that could cost you. And if you are out there running out the same dudes that are costing you games throughout the first month of the season and you think it's just going to get better, you're wrong.
Ryan Helsley's been reported that they're looking at him. Obviously, I've talked about the Minnesota Twins, and they have a plethora of relievers there that could be up for grabs. The Phillies, man, can you imagine if they didn't make the postseason? They've made it every year since 2021. And it's a real possibility with the state of the NL right now. So this is something they do have to address, Chris.
Yeah, we've talked about this, particularly with guys like Schwarber and Real Muto being up after this season. They know that this might be the last chance with this particular group. Now, could those guys re-sign on really short deals? It's possible. But if they don't get to where they want to get to, and particularly if somehow they get left out of the playoff picture, then in Philly they're going to be calling for massive change. Jose Alvarado wiggled out of a jam in the 8th inning, bases loaded, and it gave us one of the great videos of the year. Cameras caught this kid. I mean, mimicking Alvarado perfectly. The intensity, the set, and then Alvarado, boom, gets the big K, and the kid is fired up. Thank you, little man, for doing that. That was awesome.
It's a great little celebration there, too.
Yeah, he nailed it. He nailed it. Did you ever have to face Alvarado?
I was teammates with him. I don't know if I faced him.
Yeah.
Maybe we could look that up, Dan.
Oh, he had one of the great memes of all time, didn't he? Where the ball was dancing all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was in Tampa. I forgot that happened. Yeah. Well, he's one of the few guys that's been good there. And I know the Philly fan will also say, hey, our defense in the 9th inning, Rojas wasn't charged with an error, but he totally lost the ball, and Trey Turner had an error, even though he had a 4-hit night, still pretty good. Yeah, I get it. I mean, that's all part of it. Sometimes your pitching's got to bail you out when your defense stinks it up for an inning. That happens. In the meantime, let's move across the country. You know who got it going out of the gate in L.A.
And Ohtani turns the first pitch around, down the line, and gone! Shohei Ohtani's first fatherhood homer ties the game.
I love that. First fatherhood homer. Good job, Steven Nelson, on that call. This story, though, isn't about Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, who took it to the Marlins in Game 2 of their series. It's Sandy Alcantara, who had another rough outing, didn't make it out of the 3rd, gave up 7 earned, 7 hits, only struck out 2 and walked 5. In your opinion, did Miami miss pulling the trigger on a trade with him in spring training?
I mean, it looks like that now. I think Sandy is still can turn it around. I think he still has value to teams. I still think we probably see him get moved at some point this year. I watched him. I was in the stadium last night. I watched him pitch. It was bad. The stuff wasn't sharp. All the off speed was ball out of the hand. Like it just didn't look as sharp. He's a guy that, has location, can mix his speeds, can throw different pitches for strikes, and just wasn't the case last night. And I have to say this, and I guess these are kind of shots fired. Agustin Ramirez, for as good of a hitter as he has been to start his career, I couldn't believe I was sitting there with Randy Wolf, former pitcher. I was watching the game with him, and we were just talking. Catching wise, I don't know what we're gonna do. There was I think Sandy got charged with 3 wild pitches that they're not wild pitches. Ramirez was not giving him a good target. Like the setup was bad. Like it was I couldn't believe how bad the catching was. And Marlins fans, let me know if that's just kind of how it's been for him. But obviously Sandy hasn't been good all year. Last night I just noticed that as well. Like working with a new catcher there, that did not work. Like it was just not good. So I think he can get back, coming off of arm surgery, getting back into the swing of things. I was talking to Randy about that. He had 2 Tommy Johns. He's like, the feel isn't there. Your arm feels good, but the feel isn't there. That'll come back. So I do think Sandy will have better days ahead of him this year, and they will be able to get a trade. And I think teams still will covet his services. But yeah, I mean, right now it looks like they probably should have traded him because he did have a good spring training.
He did. 2 wild pitches last night is what he got charged with.
How many pass balls were there? Because it was incredible to me.
I don't think it said any. Hold on. I don't see any unless I'm misreading the box score.
There got that you've missed some because there was at least 4 balls that got by him that were just like, what is going on right now?
Oh, okay. Well,
and maybe some were without runners on, so I don't think they count those. But
no, they don't. They don't. They just count those as backstop balls. So I think the one team that they could have had wrapped around their finger in spring training would have been the Mets, right? When Minaya went down, when Montas went down, and they looked at their rotation, and literally the 5 guys they were going to run out all had question marks, whether it was the likes of Senga, who, of course, was coming off of a lost 2024. Griffin Canning had statistically one of the worst seasons in baseball last year. They had Clay Holmes. Like, do we know if he's a starter? Well, we're now 5 weeks into the season. The Mets have the best ERA in baseball. If Peter Bendix, the GM of the Marlins, picks up the phone and calls David Stearns, is like, hey, you interested in Sandy? He'd be like, yeah, we'll take him for a low A outfielder. So he's lost a little bit of that shine. There's no question about it. Can he get it back? Yeah, but it has been ugly all the way. Here's what's mind-numbing to me. He's made 6 starts. He's thrown 26 innings, which for Sandy is extremely low because prior to his injury, he was the closest thing we had to a complete game machine. Here's the real bad numbers. In 26 innings, he's got 19 strikeouts. He's never been a huge strikeout pitcher, but still that's alarming. The worst number is at 17 walks. That's a problem. He had 5 last night.
A lot of the stuff, like I said, was just ball out of the hands. A lot of his off speed was like that. Behind on every hitter. It didn't look good. I'm actually on Agustin Ramirez's Savant page right now. Obviously not a lot of time in the big leagues yet, but he's already in the 16th percentile with -2 blocks above average. It does not look good back there. They got to figure that out.
-2 blocks.
I couldn't believe it, Chris. It was shocking to me.
All right, let's run through some cool pieces of video that happened last night. Let's start with the Mets, who might have had the best defensive inning of any team this season.
Pulled down to third, off the glove at the end. It's played by Lindor, and he throws him out. Oh, wow! It's driven out to left center field, headed toward the gap. Diving is Taylor, and he makes the catch. Oh, wow! Lindor and now Taylor. That's lined and one hop by Lindor. Like it's nothing. Side retired.
You have a favorite play of those 3?
I think it's Taylor going out there, the 2 outfielders coming together like that to be able to, the wherewithal to dive there, not have the collision is awesome. I mean, Lindor getting rid of the ball, the first ball off Vientos' glove, like how quickly he got rid of that, I think is the best part of that play. Obviously, a very strong arm, but just everything is coming up Mets right now. Oh my goodness.
That's a good win for them. I love the Lindor play. I love reactionary baseball and still being able to get him. That's cool. Plus a hockey assist for Vientos on that.
Yeah.
Nice. Junior Caminero, Tampa Bay Rays, made a kid's day before the game. Love it. This little Sparky was out there throwing out the first pitch. Look at the look on his face when Caminero gives him the bat. And you know who paid attention to that? The baseball gods. Because who went deep in the game? Junior. Awesome.
Was there a special reason? Like, was this kid down there for a special reason?
I believe so. I believe he was fighting an illness. He threw out the first pitch. Great to see him down there. And
So
just a
cool.
special moment, you know?
Yeah, the look on his face getting that bat.
Right.
You just, again, I say it to ball players all the time. You can make a memory for a lifetime. Just give
Yeah.
your time just for a little bit, man. That's awesome.
That was great. Red Sox really took it to the Blue Jays last night via the long ball. Rafael Devers smashed one. Do you know how far they said this went?
I don't.
422 feet.
I don't know how they come up with that. I don't get
either.
it.
That's a lie.
That was
That's
a
a lie.
bullet right there. Oh,
That's that's third deck up. Fourth, maybe. That's not 422.
how did
Can we
that?
stop
That had some top spin on it. Still went that far? Oh my gosh.
Last thing in Baltimore. Yes, Network got a shot of this dude. You have any interest at all in being that muscular?
No, because I want to be able to like play sports. Like I don't. What's the line from? Gosh, what's that show called with Danny McBride's in it. He's a baseball player. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Sawyer, chime in. Dan, chime in. He goes,
No.
I'm trying to be the best at sports, not trying to be the best at exercising.
Oh,
That's what I need.
That's it.
I can't. This guy, I mean, put him on any athletic field, he's not going to be able to do anything.
well, so here's the thing. I don't like to make. I'm not here to make fun of it. I'm curious about it because I've never been close to that muscular. It just looks uncomfortable. It look like I don't know how you carry those arms around.
He
Those are
looks
like
good.
legs.
Like he looks scary. He looks like a freaking gorilla. Like that's a big man right there.
Yeah, he is
And
enormous.
he would rip me apart.
He would.
Where are
How
you
about-
at on the 100 guys versus one gorilla?
How about 100 guys versus him?
100 guys. Two
Okay.
guys versus him. Where are you at on that? 100 guys versus a gorilla.
I'm already tapped out. That's where I am on that. Already tapped out. No
I'm-
interest because the gorilla wins, and there's
I'm in
no
on the
debate.
gorilla, yeah. You know who had a good take on that in our office because we put that on social was Ryan Cohen. He goes, "Fear exists," and I'm like, "You're right." Like,
Yeah, totally. Because if you see the gorilla snap one of your buddies in two,
You're out.
you're not. Your primal instinct isn't like, oh, I've got to go make amends. It's yeah. And you know what the problem is? I will be the slowest out of 100.
yeah, you don't
most
got to be the
likely.
fastest, just can't be the slowest.
Right. So you can forget that. All right, let's give away our Applebee's gift cards. We want to thank everybody who wrote in. The project was to fill out the table. It would be the two of us, it would be you, and then somebody else would join us for our dinner that night. And it was tough to narrow it down, but two of them. Bobby Winner, you're a winner. I would love to bring along Daniel Vogelbach just to see what the order would be.
Yeah. Who's paying the bill on that one? Not me.
Gift card. And Dan Williams, you too are a winner. I would have my mom join us because one, she'd be able to meet the duo that she hears talking all the time when she's with me. So hi, Ma. Nice.
Hi, Mom.
Number two, she'd save some food for the rest of us to eat. That's a team player. That is a team player. And it's important. You know, I don't want to be one of those that I hate it. Like when the appetizers are almost gone and there's one more and you definitely want the extra one. And then you turn to your buddy, you're like, oh, you take it. And then they take it. You're like, what? What?
You just got to take it, Chris. I don't think anyone really cares. You can always order more if you want more.
You could, but nobody wants another order of something that's
Tell you who wants another order of something,
$17.99
Daniel
when you're only
Vogelbach.
going to eat 3 out of the 10 pieces. No. It's not.
Daniel
how it-
Vogelbach is not an appetizer guy.
Oh, you think he just goes-
I think he's a 2 entree guy.
2 entrees.
Yeah.
You don't you haven't ordered 2 entrees just
Of
for
course.
yourself.
Usually when I go to dinner, I'm like a let's order for the table guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can't decide, I'll
Interesting.
order 2 entrees and I take it home. I love leftovers.
I love leftovers.
Yeah.
Love them. And you know what? Everybody else in my house hates them. Hates them.
Perfect.
I will eat leftovers for days, to be honest with
If you don't like leftovers, it's because you're microwaving your leftovers. Put it in, like, you get a little toaster oven or your oven and heat it up that way, and then you'll be happy. I promise you.
But there's a lot of stuff that can go right in the microwave.
Microwave kills everything. I hate the
What?
microwave. Our microwave wasn't working for a while, and we would like get it fixed and it would break again. We finally got a new one. I didn't want to, but we were for like a month we didn't have a microwave and we didn't care, and it was so eye opening to me. So
Interesting.
give that a try. Just get rid of your microwave.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This was a fun one. Always is. Appreciate it. Congratulations to our gift card winners. We'll see you at an Applebee's somewhere in maybe never, but hopefully we'll see you somewhere at some point. We are back at it again on Thursday. We can't wait for our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our awesome intern, Sawyer. That is the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Thursday here on Baseball Today.